President Obama did it again. He wrapped up his White House summit on countering violent extremism the same way he started it, by refusing to say radical Islam. Now, the president calling the idea that the West is at war with Islam an ugly lie. And Congressman Ron DeSantis joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I suppose it's no big surprise he still won't say Islamic extremism. Even the New York Times says it, but he won't say it. It doesn't matter.
Well, I'll tell you, when I'm looking at this summit, it's kind of a cross between a sociology graduate school seminar and a community organizing workshop. This is not really a serious effort to confront the threat that we face, and I think it's part of its political correctness, but I do think part of it is just dishonesty. I think the message that the President and Secretary Kerry send is these are people who are inherently violent, and they're using religion to justify the violence that they already want to commit. And I don't think that's an accurate reflection of what motivates these guys. I think they're motivated by a religious ideology, and it's because they believe in that ideology that they're motivated to violence.
You know, every single one of these terrorist attacks that we've looked at recently, someone yells something to indicate religion. And so, you know, we hear Allah in the right before people are slaughtered or whatever. And for the life of me, I can't understand. We have, you know, we have Democrats who are even upset with the president, as though he's, you know, dug his heels in, and he just refuses to sort of identify the enemy, so that we have sort of a narrow vision of who we should go after.
Well, and it's minimizing it intentionally when you say that Jews who get cut down in a kosher deli were the victims of a random act of violence. That is not being honest, and that's an attempt to try to sanitize what happened. When you have 21 Coptic Christians get beheaded, and the White House puts out a statement saying that we're sorry that Egyptian civilians were killed, that is an attempt to try to sanitize what is going on. And so I think it's ineffective, but I think it's also just intellectually dishonest.
Well, I'll tell you what I think is a little bit slick. The president's saying today, notion that the West is at war with Islam is an ugly lie. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's the notion that the West is at war with extremist, Islamic extremism. I mean, that's who the war is with, Islamic extremism.
And the jihadists are at war with us. And there's no two ways about it. They are at war with the West. Indeed, they are at war with people who they consider to be infidels, Christians, Jews, other non-believers. And that's just a fact. And to try to say that somehow we're not at war, of course we're not at war with an entire religion, but you do have these extremists who are at war with us, and we can sit here and say that we're not at war, but that's not going to make it so.
All right, let's return to Secretary of State John Kerry. He wrote an op-ed today and said a number of things, but in terms of it seems that he's talking about his plan, the plan for countering violent extremism. That's the term that he uses. Now, this comes on the heel, I mean, this is the use of social media and other means to fight what's going on with Islamic extremism. This comes on the heels of him saying that he'd gone to Paris for a hug, and that he brought James Taylor along to sing the song to Paris when he did show up with "You've Got a Friend." Is Secretary Kerry not sort of, you know, facing who our enemy is?
Well, when he says that we need to have, you know, the stronger communities where people can have more opportunity, that misses the issue. Osama bin Laden was somebody who was very wealthy. He chose jihad. The 9/11 hijackers, a lot of those guys were educated, middle class, and they chose jihad. So the idea that the jihadis just don't have enough jobs and therefore they're driven to jihad, to me, is a fundamental misunderstanding of the problems that we're facing.
Not to mention the fact that there are a lot of people who don't have jobs, who want jobs, who are not beheading, not targeting specific groups, whether it be Jews or Christians. I mean, there are a lot of people without jobs in this country and in the world who don't do this.
Without question. There are some countries that are dirt poor and that have zero terrorism. And so it's just a misapplication of the facts. And I think the idea that if we just create jobs that somehow Islamic jihad is going to go away, that's just not factually the case.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.